We are running a special speedrun challenge right now. Top 32 players get to win a closed beta key for the game. So you get even more of the game. The demo obviously stops you at a certain point. If you want more of the game, get one of the top 32 finishing times and you'll be able to get a closed beta key. In fact, top 3 players, you get a special trinket in-game to commemorate your win. And number 1 gets an ultra special one that we're making just for that player. To do that, join our Discord where everyone is welcome. So just join the Discord whether you're speedrunning or not. But if you're a speedrunner, we have a little channel called Speedrun and you'll just post your victory screens on there. Special condition though, you do have to play the demo on the hardest setting. So we just dropped this patch and we increased the amount of difficulty modifiers. You will have to unlock all the modifiers in the demo right now to participate in the speedrun. We're looking for everyone to join. Whether you've played a speedrun before or not, this is fun for everyone. People have been jumping in, whether you are an experienced player of the game or a new player. Like, everyone's just joining in the action. And 32 spots. That's a lot of spots for you to earn a free beta key to get in. We've been running this beta since May. It's very exciting. There's always experimental changes and new stuff. And it's extra important because the demo is only going to be up for another 2 weeks or so. So if you want to earn a closed beta key, this is one of the best ways to do so. Now, talking about the patch a little bit, there's a couple things with the patch. So our difficulty system is called Dissensions. Those are modifiers you unlock before you start each run, and they make your game harder. Well, why would you make the game harder for yourself? When you're ready to move on to the next layer of challenge, you're looking for something even more difficult once you've mastered the basics of the game, we want the game to let you express yourself further, test new strategies, challenge yourself really, and have a trial. So this new modifier is called Lethal Foes. Not only will you face harder enemies, you're actually going to be able to retreat with your troops if you don't like the way the battle looks. Of course, that still counts as a loss on that battle, so I have to make that decision wisely. A lot of the dissensions in our game have both an upside and a downside, and the reason we do this is to keep it fun and exciting. We want you to try these things because we want to change the way you think about the game, give you new things to experiment with. One additional point about retreating though, you will not be able to do it in the middle of combat. You actually have to do it at the expedition's deploy screen. This is the screen where you choose which units to send and get to preview which enemies you will face. This is the time where you get to decide, hey, do I have the right units for this? Can I even beat these foes? And especially with the Lethal Foes modifier, these foes hit really hard, so you're gonna have to be careful. Some of the matchups are not gonna be great for you. You're not expected to win every battle. So we give you this option in order when you're doing your playthrough. You can decide, hey, I want to safely retreat my troops and I want to save them for next time. Again, As We Descend is a strategy game. It's not about winning every battle. In fact, the only way to lose the game is when you lose the city. So if you give up an expedition or two, but it means you get to carry on in your descent, then you should go for it. So we unified some of the difficulty in our waves because we realized that for the demo, a lot of players were actually kind of slipping through some of the waves. Some of the weaker waves did not challenge the player enough. And the problem with not challenging the player enough is you can bring any unit and any combination of cards and any synergy. We want this game to be about building the right counters, building the right combinations, and when the waves don't challenge you sufficiently, you're able to kind of slip through in the game and get much further in the game than intended, and eventually you hit some other kind of wall anyway, like a big boss. And it's always much more disappointing to get further in a game and then get shut down by a boss than if the game is like, no, to beat this first wave, you gotta be ready for it. So we made sure the weaker waves, like the Thrasher, the Piper, and the Thunderbug, had adequate power levels to require you, hey, you should be taking new cards and new units and finding the right synergies to make sure you survive. So a big focus of the patch was also increasing the amount of information for you. Why did we do this? The patch is about difficulty, right? Like, why are we making the game more clear? Turns out, that's the bad kind of difficulty. It's not the kind of difficulty we're shooting for. The game is not supposed to be hard because you can't figure out the information you need to succeed. This is not meant to be an unfair experience. It's supposed to be a difficult or challenging one. And I think that's actually a very different concept. You've all played those games that are brutal but for all the wrong reasons. So we want to make sure that you have all the tools you need to survive. And what does that look like in As We Descend? The information we're giving you is things in the city, of course. So the city will give you much more information about, if I turn in this item or this envoy, what do I get out of it? So the descriptions in the city are now a lot more clear, but that's not all. There's various events that are a bit more streamlined and a bit more clear what they want from you. And we also changed up some of the synergies. So the synergies are a lot more clear. One of the big things here is the Arbalist and the Dauntless, two of your basic units have a starter perk now. And this is to give you a clear guiding path for how do you build these characters. Because if we just give you a character and we don't really tell you what you're supposed to do with it, that's not necessarily the way we envision the game. We want the game to kind of give you a clear hint about what am I supposed to do here, right? Why should I care about this unit? Why should I care about this card? Lastly, we also improved some of the tooltips that had a bit of confusing wording. We wanted to clean things up and make sure that as many cards as possible have helper text. So if you hover things, if you mouse over things, you see the words you need, so that the game is like, hey, no worries, if you want to read more information, we're providing it so you're able to succeed. If you're a player that doesn't read so much, it's okay, you can still keep playing the game, and we're trying to also make the visual language very clear. So even if you're not reading every word, we don't expect you to be reading a book here, of course. If you pay attention to the icons, if you're looking around for the visual clues, we're trying to make sure that the game is as clear as possible, even with no words said. So it's kind of a holistic change in terms of we're just giving more information across the board, but hopefully not in an overwhelming way. So one of the big feedback points we got was that some of the characters were a little bit scattered in their archetype. People couldn't recognize, like, what was the big strength of this unit? Why should I pick this character, right? That's such an important part of a game like this, which is built around units. So we wanted a bit more clarity around our unit design. We didn't want characters to do too many things because that makes it unclear. Like, I'll give it a specific example. The Arbalist had both armor shred cards and a couple burning cards and a couple multi-shot cards and a couple draw cards. We thought that was a bit more confusing and more advanced player thing, so we took some of that and simplified it. We moved it to other characters like the armor shred. We moved it out of the Arbalist entirely. We also added more multi-shot cards to the Arbalist because we wanted to reinforce the idea that this is a trooper with lots of multi-shots. We want you to know that when you pick the Arbalist, they are a character that shoots many times, they deal lots of damage, but they don't bring too much other utility. There's still always a bit of extra utility on our characters. We don't want one-dimensional characters, but we want a character's sort of main archetype to be clear, and the Arbalist is this multi-attacking character. That also gives it clear synergies with our other units. We want to encourage you to try out different combinations. Does an Arbalist pair well with a Vanguard? Does it pair well with a Knight? Does it pair well with a Bombardier? These are all questions that we ask ourselves, and we make sure that when we design cards and unit abilities, that it's very clear to you, even without me saying so, that you can figure out what this character is about. If you love patch notes and more details, there is the full patch notes on Steam, in the Steam news, and we'll link it below. You will be able to find all the details. It's quite chunky, but again, if you like reading this kind of thing, I think we have like 8 pages of notes. Do give it a read. I even mark out when it is a community-inspired change, and I don't know exactly how many we had, but I would say a good 20-30% of our changes were definitely due to community feedback. Whether you're here for the new patch or for the speedrun, make sure to join the Discord. That's where you'll hear all the latest news as well as the latest information about new patches, and you'll be able to interact with all people in the community. We finally opened it up to everyone, so join in. The Discord is a great place. People post there constantly all the time, sharing builds, strategies, information, and giving suggestions. We love to hear new suggestions. So definitely give the new demo patch a shot. You will be able to play with the new difficulty settings that you have to unlock first, and hopefully we'll see you in the speedrun.